So we're recording. Anything you shall say shall be taken down, twisted and used against you.
Yes, all
in a
right.
kangaroo court.
We got busy lawyers as an AI company, crikey. And
Well,
fortunately, we
before
know
we start, can you just introduce yourself? Because we've already been having a conversation, but who are you and what are you doing?
My name's Neil Gentleman-Hobbs. I'm well, a normal bloke really, but I suppose if you work hard and you get a little bit of luck, it adds up. So I'd been the fire starter at 3 companies before I was 30 that IPO'd. My first job was at a paint factory, and somebody turned around and told me that I shouldn't be in sales administration, I should go into sales. So I went to a company called Cal Circuits Abco, and I said, you can't brand that. And I was young then and I had hair. I mean, it's gone past the grey stage, but I said, what we need is something that the grey heads will understand and relate to. So they went away because it was an American company, and they went away and they came back and they went Packard Bell. I said, well, it rings one. What is there? What can we work with as a brand story? And they said, well, it's as you said, it's something the grey heads grew up with. So the old, you and I might be old enough to remember this, Murph, or we've seen them in pictures before colour came in. But you know, the old transistor TVs and the Packard Bell radios. I incorporated one of those in my MP3 players because I developed the world's first MP4 player. But anyway, fell out with Apple there big time. I'll say no more about that because that was a very painful lawsuit back in 2005. But there you go. Put me off being in technology for 5 years. I just had enough of it. Yeah, I just thought it's become such a bent and corrupt game. And it's such a cartel, and they got the lawyers on side, you know, you just kind of give up on it. But anyway, so Packard Bell did really well. We went from 6 people in an office to 115 people and owned the Rayco building outright. And I mean, Americans were just showering me with money. I mean, you can imagine it. I was 20. So this is between the age of 20 and 21. And I mean, it was coming in faster than I could spend it. And I was burning a candle at both ends and in the middle. And then they screwed me on commission, not once, not twice, but thrice. And the third time I turned around and said, I've had it. So I took him, I was going to take him to court. They paid me outright and said that they wanted me to come back and work for them. But I then got in with a very big old English family, an old Austrian family, and that was when I then went to, you know, because I'd agreed to deal with them, I wouldn't come back. They ended up being one of the companies that I was a fire starter of, so that was ideal. And then there was Memory Corporation, which I just couldn't believe. That was where I learned about how stupid venture capitalists could be. So Memory Corporation sat down with me, and they said, we've got a DRAM replacement chip. I said, but that's a lot of bullshit because that changes every 2 years. And they went to Kingy, who's at Datrontech. They said, well, why you introduced us to this bloke? And I said, no, it's all right. That you know, I'm not going to say anything. If you can pony up the money, we'll see how it goes. And they did quite well. And then Datrontech did quite well as well. And we were doing a lot of trading out in Hong Kong and mainland China because I got some good relationships there. Oh, I missed the company out, by the way, as well. So in between, before I was working for the Datrontech and Memory Corp JB, because they worked together before their flotations. I was in Oxford, and well, I moved out to Oxford, Cotswolds, lovely that is. So Oxford being the nearest city, and that was really nice to sort of start a family, as it were. Well, I was thinking about it. I've been engaged 8 times. I'll tell you what, the engagement ring's the most expensive thing you can buy. I've only ever had one thrown back at me, and it was the cheapest one. It was paste. It was with a girl that I knew at school, so I'm a bit of a Del Trotter there. So yeah, so we set this thing up in Oxford called Icon, which the marketing
Icon.
we met. Yeah, no, it's brilliant. He went, "What icon? Everybody I meet." I said, "No, it's a computer icon, you idiot." But I do like that. And we developed the world's first cashless board and worked with NVIDIA, sold their first video cards. So I've met him, the Chinese one of them. Can't remember his name now. I've had conversations with him. I've had conversations with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, who were joined at the hip. So it's no surprise, really, I guess, that Microsoft came to the rescue of Apple. And Apple ceased to be a lovely company. I mean, Steve Jobs, one of the nicest guys you can meet. I know he nicked the graphic user interface, ranked Xerox out of Palo Alto. That's another fact, by the way. So I can't be sued on any of this. It's all factually provable. But he was actually a nice guy. I think he's the only spieler, as I call them, where they go out on stage and they spiel loads of rubbish for the benefit of just making money, you know. But he's the only guy that's a genuine techie. You know, he will actually get his hands, well, not dirty. Well, we don't really, do we? Well, we dirtied up the world, and I do apologise for that. The amount of landfill sites I've filled with product that's got obsolescence by design built into it, because that's another big problem that we have. Circular economy has got to be something that we seriously look at. I don't mean this as a plug, but I've got involved with yet another circular economy not-for-profit that we set up called Recognition Circular. So what that will do is that will take unemployed people that are technically digitally excluded. We're going to take them through workshops. So we're talking to the DWP. They love the idea. And what they do, they fix the kit. And then the kit, they get product to take home with them. Hopefully we'll give them jobs as well, and it can become a train the trainer thing for some of them. But the product that they actually fix will go out to digitally excluded people via charities in the West Midlands. I mean, I find this tragic, but Birmingham, which is where I set up the second Packard Bell office, by the way, and I realised then it was a city of 1,000 trades. It's unbelievable. You know, you see that scene in Peaky Blinders where he's walking through and there's all this stuff going on. That is the Black Country. It's absolutely incredible. And yet they're the most digitally excluded area in the country. Yeah, it's 26%. It's terrible. So we started talking with a few people to see what we could do. Spoke to their council. I mean, they're not doing too well at the moment, are they? No. And Oracle aren't helping because they banged them for 100-odd million set of software. I mean, you know, when you're with SAP and you've spent all that money, you just don't move away from it. I mean, I know it can be cumbersome, but I've put SAP into companies, the companies that I've been involved with, because it's good kit. It does the job. I know Oracle are the third biggest software company in the world, but you know, why try and migrate and change all your culture? And you probably know more about this than me as a coach in transformation and that kind of thing. You can't do it. I mean, 90% of big projects fail anyway. This one was doomed right from the outset, wasn't it, really? So they've got a few problems, and one of the earliest problems we had with it was libraries. We said that the warm spaces and places that have already got a lot of technology and Wi-Fi and that in them, and they went, no, don't go there. And I went, why? And they said, well, we got 36 libraries earmarked to be shut, and 25 of them we've already sold them. So I went, oh, well, there you go. Okay, so we'll kind of, you know, leave that. So, but you know, we might be you never know. They might get saved. I mean, the interesting thing is that a lot of those libraries are Carnegie libraries. So I think when the Carnegie Institute, or whatever they're called, who built all those libraries around the UK, when they hear about it, they're probably going to turn around and say, look, we gave you 500 or 750 quid to build these great buildings, you know, which was a lot of money in those days. And no, you know, they were supposed to be for public good. So let's see what happens there. I mean, we'll try and stay away from Lawrence, to be honest.
So we
yeah, I know. I'll
good introduction.
Have a coffee. No, it was bought for me as a present by the wife. I didn't steal it from Costa.
So Del Boy.
I've met him as well, Sugar, actually.
Oh,
that's a definite law. So yeah, he offered me a job. I turned around and said no. Said I'm working for a bigger company than you. We were at the time, and his PCs were going wrong. I mean, he's made all his money out of property. He's very, you know, he's a great man, and he is a genuine barra boy. I mean, he could sell sand to Arabs, but you know, it's not for me really.
So, we started a conversation on LinkedIn, wasn't it? And you were telling, I think I said something about community capitalism, and that was that you waded in with.
Yeah.
Digital.
Yes. So there's cloud capitalism. There's cloud capitalists. Dear old Janos, you know, the guy, he's quite left wing for me, actually, but I do actually relate to a lot of his stuff. Janos Varoufakis, you know, the Greek finance minister. And he's talking about the cloud capitalists, and he's right. And I don't know the guy, I've never spoken to the guy, but he's come up with an idea that he's getting out there, and it was an idea that I come up with, that is cloud capital. So, and this is where the tech industry comes from. So you got Vanguard, State Street, BlackRock. You look at those, all three of them own each other. So circular ownership is illegal over here. But if that's allowed in the States, which it is, and if you look at how much control they've got, so they'll have 5%, 6%, 8% or whatever of most of the S&P, most of the top UK companies. And don't forget, they invest people's money for them as well, and shares and all that. So they've got those in votes. Now, if you've got more than 26% of a company, you have to make an announcement of a hostile takeover if you intend to go to, I think it's 28%. Well, these people have already got more than that. So therefore, they have the ability to influence. And therefore, this is why I call it cloud capitalism. It's in a cloud where it can rain money anywhere. Yeah, and it really can. So if you look at the venture capital that's going on in the tech industry, so let's look at Facebook. There is no way that that guy, Zuckerberg, was going to be able to keep that thing running, let alone IPO it. If you look at Jeff Bezos is an ex-quant. Again, the funding came in. I mean, I remember them losing. They were going to show a 2 million profit. I think it was 96 or 1996, 98. So things were definitely in black and white then. We were all using abacuses or abaci, whatever they're called. But they lost 92 million on going into the rad trade. I mean, you can make a lot of money in the rad trade, but if you're going into it fully, you can lose a lot, and he did. And they just kept going. I mean, Google had something about it. I met Larry Page as well. I called him Mr. Algorithm. He was only a youngster. He was really, really young at the time. He was just starting Google up. I think it was 96, something like that. And this guy had something. He knew he had something. I use Google all the time. I like it. It is still a monopolist in its own way. But again, the funding they got was just unbelievable. Apple was on its way out. Microsoft were able to parachute money in there, and then you get the rest of the crowd in there that pump it so full of money, well, it's too big to fail. It cannot fail. And we need innovation. Yeah. So I know a lot of people out there think capitalism has got a big problem at the moment, and it has. And that's because it's become a cartel. So that's where you've got the oligarchs, you've got unfair competition. So everybody's pushing up the price of chips. They want more and bigger chips for AI. And I don't want to do a plug here, but Smarter AI, which is the AI company that I've got an involvement with, we went small. You don't need that. And a lot of the rest of the community that's out there agree the same thing. So this sounds like an oxymoron, but it's SLLMs, small large language models. That's what works. Yeah. And they all realize this, but they will up the ante. That way you can create capital barriers, and that's imperfect competition. If you don't have competition, you don't have innovation, particularly in tech, because you're going to get 9 things wrong, the 10th thing you get right, and then that means you've made money overall. I mean, the bankers or banksters, whatever you want to call it, they call it 10 bagging. So, you know, you chuck 10 bags out there, yeah. And one of them is well, you're probably going to trouble your investment even on the 9 losses you got, if not more, you know. But I just think it's such a shame. If you look at the talent that we've got, you look at the people out there, and the 1% are using this cloud capitalism and the whole cloud and the whole tech to create a new prison. So feudalism never went. Yeah.
No.
We had this great period after the war where they had to say thank you to people and give a bit back, and that's why pensions, the NHS, and all that. Yeah.
Well, you created a middle class, didn't you, about 100 years ago?
You did. And then in 1979, it wasn't Thatcher, it wasn't Reagan, they were just the figureheads. It was Goldman. I've made a bad enemy there saying them. But that if you look at the guy that was to the side of Ronald Reagan, I mean, there's a famous bit there where the guy says, hurry this along. How dare he? I know he was a B movie actor, but he's still the president of the United States. You've got to respect the guy, you know? And he did as many good things as he did bad, but they were controlling things. I mean, everybody thinks that the Democrats are different. No, we realized that that wasn't the case with Clinton. I mean, Clinton did well to get the US debt down. He really did. But I mean, everybody was making money then. That was, you know, up until the dot-com boom and bust, you know, and all the tech side of things. But Clinton, he turned around and said, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And he got the tap on the shoulder. And it was, you know, same thing again, bit like Tony Blair. I mean, I voted for Blair. Good God, I actually voted Labour. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm all for, you know, community wealth building and building up and all that. But I don't think that somebody should be a stooge. And that's what we've got. We've got all of these stooges. And I think our only way to get out of this is working together. And that's where community wealth building comes in.
So that's supposed to put out about community capitalism. It depends what adjective you put in front of it, doesn't it, really?
God, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because that's the motivation. You know, the capitalism is just an operating system. It's the motivation that's behind it that's really important.
Yeah, that's right. It is. Yeah. You know, I mean, you can only what's that saying? Profit can only be yeah, but that what there's it was when I did A-level economics, it almost came back to me there. Yeah, that we can only be so you can only profit by sacrifice of either human effort and resources. And that's the thing. And we're the ones that are, you know, the profit is extracting from us now instead of giving us a fair share.
Yeah.
Because the more people that have got money to spend, you've got a vibrant economy then. You haven't got some. If you've got 11 companies controlling the entire supply chain, you walk into any box store, box store, supermarket, 11 companies are controlling that, but it's actually 3 companies that are controlling all of them.
Yeah. So what can we do about it?
So community wealth building is part GDP related, but only a small part, but it's part the value you can actually create. So let's take something really simple. Yeah. I call it sow, study, sustain. Yeah. So you sow the seeds, you study, in other words, look after them. Yeah. And then you sustain yourself. And the way you do that is because once you planted the seeds, you're going to eat part of them. Some of them's going to go to seeds, some of them are going to go to food banks. So that's creating energy, nutrition and energy. Yeah. Once you've done that, it goes round again. So you don't actually need any money to keep it going. It's a bit like when you go into orbit, you just keep going. And that's where the circular thing's a good thing. So where does the community wealth building come in? Well, what the model could be is a lot of rich people that want genuine arty-farty food. You know, you haven't got the 10 years where you can call it organic, but you've got genuine healthy food. They'll pay a lot of money for that. Yeah. So, or you work at avenues as to who to work it through. So, I mean, one of the great things, I mean, it's a model that I'm pursuing at the moment. So you've got Aldi's, Lidl's, and you've got the co-op. Yeah. They will actually have areas where they'll sell the food through their EPOS system for you and give you a cut. So that's the sustainability angle if you want to create wealth out of it. But I think you create wealth by sharing best practice. It's the unvalued wealth. So when we first started doing this, we did it in a really shitty area. Yeah. I'm not going to mention where, but it's probably featured in the first Crap Towns book. You know what I mean? The country's in such a mess now. I think they're going to bring out a third, and it's terrible. Should laugh about it. But we had, so just because one youngster and one older person had crosswords, like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, yeah, I don't know, playing football, whatever they're trying to do or whatever. So they have crosswords. They never speak to each other again. And that creates a chasm. You get them down to a growing centre. The old people haven't got the energy, but they got the knowledge. The youngsters have got the energy, but nobody wants to utilize them. They don't feel useful. So nobody feels as if anybody's being cheated, and everybody shares the spoils, which is the food, which has got a value in itself. But it's the knock on, and it's the sharing of best practice, and it's the fact that stuff doesn't get damaged. I mean, we did another interesting thing we did. We got a load of local graffiti artists, yeah, because everybody was fed up with all the bins being ripped off when people were drunk. Graffiti artists sprayed it, and nobody's ripped off a bin ever since. Wow. You know, because they think that they're going to annoy the local drug dealers who are in with the graffiti artists and all that side of. So, but you know, even out of bad, you get a certain level of good. You can get good out of it.
It's looking for the counterintuitive solutions, isn't it? It's looking for the things that you wouldn't normally, that are outside the kind of arcs of fire or whatever you might call, you know, the view.
So I mean, I'm just amazed at how everybody gets on. Oh, and the other thing as well, the key thing is everybody wants to put things up. Yeah, they're like the Amish. Yeah. And then everybody will lose interest. So what we found was the best way to do it is fast growing food. So you're doing crops every 6 to 8 weeks. And this is where all the value and is unlocked. Yeah. Because the stalks that you're not going to use, you're putting those in super composters. So you've got that liquid that comes out the bottom that's used in flowers, but you've got really good black soil maintained all the time. And because you do it vertically, you know, you can just scoop it out the drain pipes quite literally. So people are getting food, they're getting all of this energy. It's all non-stop. It's great, and it keeps them engaged.
It's fascinating. This is Barbara would be very impressed with this conversation because it's gone from here as a true polymathic conversation, hasn't it?
And we're doing it with technology now as well, which is great. So it's take, make, break, and waste, because you're always reusing some and somewhere along the line. I mean, we hope we can get this big enough. We're going to do something called urban mining. Yeah, which is we're basically going to extract all the metals, and then all the metals can be used again.
Right. But that's not being done already.
No, not successfully. People are trying to recycle. I mean, you used to have the totters, we used to call them in London. They were absolutely brilliant, because I was putting PCs into places when they were ripping out the mainframes and the minis, and I spoke to a couple of the, because these are gypsies, the totters are mainly gypsies, and they went, oh yeah, we'll have that off you, you know, and because it's got gold in it, and because it's got tin in it, and because it's got, and I think they were just chucking it into a melting pot, I don't know. But it has been tried to a level, but it has to go out the country, I think. Whereas I'm under an NDA here, but we are using a technology which is going to use living creatures that will consume it and shit it out the other end. And then you can actually do it that way. And where I got that idea from is I was working with a big American company where they're trying to clean up chemicals. A company called Sologen Inc. You should check them out. They're a really brilliant company. And what they're doing is, so these are chemo enzymes that we're basically using. Not theirs, but what theirs do is they will go into a load of dirty water. And you can see on the videos, and you know, and it cleans it out. So it means it can clean up through pipes and stuff like that. And it means that the water can be circulated for pretty much ever. There's another company that I work with from time to time. It's a company called Embodies. They're half owned by the Dutch government, and it does show you, if you've got half government ownership and half private enterprise, they work much better because it stops the greed side of things.
So that ties into is it Marianne Macuso?
That kind of rings a bell, yeah.
She's I think she's got a book called Moonshot or something along those lines, because it was all about the fact that when governments do get involved in something, and actually support it, then a lot can happen.
Yeah, I mean, Evida's down at Pernod, which is near Rotterdam. Yeah, they work with Shell. Yeah, and Shell, I mean, what a mess they make. But in Holland, they've had water going, same demineralized water going around the system for 20 years. And that's a good thing, because what people don't realize is, forget just sewage, you pump demineralized water into the rivers, it's going to kill the fish, because it's warm and it's got no minerals in it, strangely enough.
Yeah.
I mean, Thames Water, if they don't pay 109 million at the end of this month, have you heard about that yet?
No.
They will go bust, because their investors have said, we throw money at it, but it's uninvestable.
And
you're telling us that we can only up the price.
Yeah, they put all the water rates up as well.
Yeah, but they wanted to treble that, and they went to Ofwat, and Ofwat turned around and went, well, we put PR24, by the way, is the price review 24. And there's an AMP 24, which is the asset management plan, which I don't see them spending any money on their assets at all, any of them. They're all crooks. They're all a disgrace.
So and that's crony capitalism, is it, or corrupt?
It is, yeah, it is, yeah. Because you see, the big problem I noticed it started out, because I was still telemarketing at the time, very high end conversations, and I noticed that private equity was taking over good solid engineering companies, and it still continued after Brexit as well. And if you look at sorry, I nearly said plandemic there. If you look at what happened in 2021, it was a good opportunity for a lot of people. And I would say that 25% of the companies going into that now don't exist. And it's not just the SMEs that have gone bust. It's the medium size have been taken over by private equity companies, and they're the worst, because when they go into retail, they kill our big retailers. They killed Debenhams. They haven't killed Cadbury's, but I mean, Cadbury's has gone from a company that was paying, I don't know, 220 to 250 million a year corporation tax. It did 180 million reclaim about 2 years ago, because Warren Buffett has got a leveraged buyout in there. So it's owned by Kraft Heinz. This sort of predatory capitalism, you're right in calling it crony capitalism, but it's predatory capitalism, is wrong.
So we kind of, you've got the predatory capitalism with the likes of Warren Buffett and Cadbury's, was it?
Yeah, he's now owned Cadbury's through Kraft Heinz.
And yeah, and as you said, a lot of the companies are disappearing. The figures are being manipulated on the unemployment.
Yeah. I mean, Gates owns so many different things in so many different sectors. It's unbelievable. You know, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, he was the guy that started the outsourcing when he went to the American Senate and said, look, it'd be beneficial for us if we outsource a lot of this work. You know, you're doing it with manufacturing. Let's do it on the tech side of things. And they should have turned around and said no. You know, because you're allowing wealth to seep out. And again, if it's cloud capitalism, it's sucked up to the cloud because everything's electronic money now. You can't tax it, which is a terrible thing. And that's what's putting us in the debt that we're in. I mean, it's funny, they moan about it. There's someone on the news about, you know, these about unemployed people and fiddling something like 50 million or whatever. It's tiny. If Amazon should be taxed on its sales in the UK, because it's a rent seeker. It doesn't actually, you know, it just, and there's 5 billion for a start.
Yeah. And kind of researching around this, I noticed that I think it's a diagram that's going around. So was it Rockefeller with his oil business?
and the birth of the petrochemical industry and plastics. Love it.
Yeah. And didn't that it got broken up into like 32 companies, and now it's back down to about 4 again. So it always
Standard Oil did, but the fact is they still benefited because they still work with each other. But somebody had the balls then to do it. I mean, the antitrust committee, I mean, they let Microsoft off. They're going to let everybody else off. They always do. They can't do anything about it.
So you also mentioned kind of with the digital feudalism that we're going
to. We're going into a phase of digital feudalism.
So you mentioned alongside that, then, if you pick up one end of the stick, the other side of the stick was the fact that we'd probably need UBI, because if you want
that's the inevitable outcome. Yeah, because that can keep people controlled then, and then they'll be able to decide what we all eat. So I'd recommend everybody gets a cold wallet. Because what's going to happen when central bank digital currency comes in, they'll ease it in. We'll have no choice. There's got to be a black swan event for it to happen. And that's happened all around us, isn't it? And I think as soon as that happens, people are going to be, oh, okay, I'll have to buy this. They know there's not jobs for people, but they can redeploy them in other areas eventually. So you get a universal basic income and you get someone on top for, I mean, potentially, depending on which side of the WEF wins, World Economic Forum, is split into two. It's these greedy so-and-sos and the people that are more about the SDGs and stuff like that. They call it the United Nations. The trouble is that the biggest funders of the United Nations are Bill Gates, and the biggest funder for Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, about 70% of it is Buffett with his cronies. So, it's who wins really. But I can see that if the nicer people kind of win, it would be money could literally rain down to people for community projects and stuff like that, so we can sort our problems out. Because once they're in the golden lifeboats, once you get rid of money, debt, so money is created out of debt at the moment. With central bank digital currency, that's not the case. You can just magic it out of thin air and then get rid of it. There's a lot of potential flexibility, but it's whether they'll use it for good or for bad.
So it really is down to. So I have this thing about hierarchy. Someone said that quite a prominent entrepreneurial advocate said that the default setting of societies tends to be kings, queens, noble people, then peasants, serfs, and I would say slaves, debt slaves or slaves. There's more slavery now, isn't there, than when it was legal, apparently. But
there is. Yeah, I can send you something. Let's have a look on LinkedIn. Go on, carry on.
So he said that 95% of the wealth will be owned by 5%, and it'll be power law type thing. The AI will create that to a certain extent, or to a large extent, I should say. And the fact that I should imagine we're probably in the exponential curve of AI and robotics and that kind of thing. What's your feeling on that?
Well, I don't think we're even in the early stage of it. I mean, it's so much hype. It's an absolute joke. I mean, I really find it hard to believe, to be honest. I mean, it's not AI. It's not artificial intelligence. It is it is a development of large language models that can regurgitate text. They can regurgitate pictures. It's getting better. It is very promising. The multimodal stuff, which we're playing around with, is really exciting, but we're not at stage 5. Generative AI, I'm not going to do a Gerald Ratner who shot himself in the foot and said that, but, we're not a generative AI at the moment. We're at a very, very early stage of it. And that's one of the reasons we do a private only version. It operates in your data lake. So you sort out the messy data that you've got and you can ask it questions and that's it. And it's quite good at that. Scott is very good at that. But if you if we created, and we're doing something with the national supercomputer in Scotland, where we are building them. We've built them this humongous, it's like snakes and ladders, metaphorically speaking. We're building a very, very big, large language model. And that's coming up with a lot of useful stuff at the moment, because again, we're only feeding it certain stuff. So academic papers with permission, that sort of stuff. Because otherwise the hallucinations you get are brilliant. I mean, we have games on it sometimes where we just feed shit into because we keep Scotty separately, but you just feed shit into an open model. You know what I mean? And the stuff it regurgitates out is unbelievable. You know, they say it hasn't got any memory, but you then put some in logic in afterwards and it regurgitates the shit you've been feeding it, like April Fool's Day for the last half an hour, you know. I've sent you to have a look on your LinkedIn. You might want to chuck this into the chat. That's the pyramid that I use to explain things. And then I've done the 11 companies as well. I've just sent that through.
It's not come through yet, but so
yeah, it's probably because I've got so much bloody open. It's unbelievable.
So what do you envisage for the future of sustainable entrepreneurship then?
I think it's very difficult, and it depends what happens with central bank digital currency. I mean, there's that famous scene, isn't there, the stockbroker in the Gremlins. You know, we're advising all our clients to get into canned goods and shotguns. You know, he's still pitching. There'd still be some sales made, and there'll be some people buy. But I do worry. I do actually think that it's so far gone that we're going to have a real problem with capitalism as it stands. So I think we're going to morph into socialism because we've already got socialism for the rich, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, is it a false dichotomy that we're sort of mesmerized and kind of paralyzed by this false dichotomies and of it being left and right, and the fact, you know,
we are. I mean,
Adam Smith's idea was that you had to have social justice with capitalism. You couldn't have one or the other.
Well, that's right. But I mean, it goes round in a circle, doesn't it? Extreme right and extreme left meet. It's a circle. So we need to get away. The key thing we need to do is to all keep talking, because if we work together, then we're going to get a better deal out of what happens. But I do worry, once that central bank digital currency window is shut, you've got to be really careful. I think there will be I think there'll be black markets open up, which means that cash will still have a value.
Did the bank say that they weren't going to get rid of current cash? But
no, that's right.
Yeah.
But those banks aren't really going to have a place in life, are they? Because they're not going to be.
But there again,
they won't be creating money anymore.
If you're talking about cloud and dirt, where people make their money, you know, Buckminster Fuller said, didn't he? Don't try to fight the existing reality, create a new one that makes your one obsolete. If you're not already on that ladder and quite successful, you know, AI, new digital technology will just make the rich richer, basically.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Yeah,
and the people that are going to fall out the bottom, once the middle class goes, there's going to be a lot more falling out the bottom. They're going. That's the bit we're waiting for.
Because the middle class have got to realise they draw a wage, therefore, by definition, they are working class. They're better off, but it's all going to be relative. I think anybody under 10 million quid is going to be in the, well, that we see in a lot of the dystopian science fiction films and stuff like that.
Yeah, Brave New World.
I think, but I do think that another economy will grow out of it. Or do we end up in socialism? We don't know.
There's an economy called the grey economy, isn't there? Where, and actually big firms use it. You know, Unilever selling its washing up liquid to people on boats or something, you know, in communities that live on the water, for instance. You know, they call this the grey economy, but it's like a smaller economy. But do you think it's just going to be black markets springing up?
No, I think that there will be grey markets and black markets in the hardware market from time to time. When people start doing naughty things, the manufacturers will actually sell to them because they know that they can get rid of a lot more of their product in avenues that they would rather not trade in. i.e. jurisdictions and stuff like that, basically. So yeah, there's a lot of money to be made in the grey market that way. And then obviously there's the black market, which is where you really shouldn't be selling stuff.
What
so keep hold of cash.
Keep hold of cash.
Get yourself a cold wallet as well. So that's basically for a raft of cryptocurrencies, because some of them would be worth nothing and some of them will be worth 20 times their value.
Right. What what would you advise people who were wondering what to do going forward, apart from the cold wallet thing? Where's it? What should they be focusing on? I mean, NVIDIA, the guy that runs NVIDIA, they asked him, what should school children study at school? I mean, we homeschool because I think survival skills.
Yeah, the multi-academy trust system, it screwed it up.
Yeah. But NVIDIA, the guy from NVIDIA said, well, what should they be teaching school kids? And he said, well, normally people sat in my position being asked by you what they should do in the past have said technology. Well, now you don't need that because technology can do it all. You can ask it to write code and things like that.
Yeah, you can, but there's a lot more to go in it. The problem is that we need to get it away. So the legislation that's going through from the EU and the UK government and American governments are trying to put in, I'm all for that, but not when you consider that it's lobbyists that are trying to put that in place. So what they're trying to do
what's in place though? Sorry,
they're trying to put legislation in place to control AI, and they're not controlling AI. What they're doing it for the benefit of the big companies, so that the small companies can't develop stuff.
So we're going back to that 5% owning the 95%.
That's right, yeah.
And the government's helping.
And we don't want that. So I mean, it's how that comes out, and the UK is being criticised at the moment, and that's one good thing that our government's doing. It's saying, no, hold on a minute, we don't want to stifle innovation here, and we might get away with it too. So that might be a good thing, because don't forget, this country, although it's quite small, 30% of the money market, so that's the liquid money that's going through the world, goes through London. New York gets 18%. That's 7 trillion a day. That's a lot of money. So the UK is a little bit more powerful than people think. And that's one of the reasons why we became a financialized society. But the thing is, it's greedy people that are keeping all that money. If you think 7 trillion, I mean, the UK's debt now is, well, it's officially 3.5 trillion. I mean, I've spoken to people that are saying it's 9. But, if you tax the right people, if you tax a banker that's creating derivatives, he'll just make more derivatives. They should ban derivatives, by the way. So the derivative mountain now is about 6.5 quadrillion. They've had to invent a new number. It was 76 or 78 trillion that caused the 2008 crash. So they just renamed them and started it all over again. See, the problem with the banks, and that's another reason central bank digital currency needs to come in a way. Sorry. Another reason it needs to come in a way is that the banks will always keep creating derivatives because their role as money changers isn't sufficient for their greedy profits. So if you look at Citi know this boom's over. They got rid of 7,000 people so far. They're going to get rid of another 13,000 people. That's 20,000 people gone. Because they know they don't need it anymore, and they've got machines. I don't know if you've ever seen these machines. My God, they are absolutely frightening. It's called high frequency trading machines. These are computers that can resell the same thing 12 times over in a second. or in milliseconds. It's absolutely insane. If you and I were to try and sell something 12 times over, we'd be in prison. But they're allowed to do it. And there's got to be a lot of changes. And if you rein in the banks and you split up the tech companies, we've got a really, really good world coming, because the technology is very, very close. And if you can get human minds on it, because it needs us, we're intuitive. No computer's as intuitive as we are. We're brilliant. All right, we make mistakes or whatever, but especially the polymaths, us generalists, we'll be great. We'll have millions of ideas. Harness that to technology. Technology is going to say, well, that's a good idea. You know, we can overcome things. We can overcome the food problems.
Yeah,
we really can.
Yeah, we can. It's just the motive, as I say, I mean, I think hierarchy is the main thing. You know, we've been fairly egalitarian hunter-gatherers for 200,000 years. 94% of the time we've been on the planet. It's only the last 12,000 years where this kind of thing's been happening. And I kind of consider that all technology is a tap. It's a tool to accumulate power over a resource, whether it be attention or anything like platforms. And it takes a wide area and puts it through a tap, which is funneling it, and it's controlling it.
Yeah. But don't you think with the cycles that we're in, so I'm not, you know, I want our planet looked after. There are climate change issues going on that are man-made, but they are also within the 40-year grand solar minimum. I'm finding it very chilly. If you look at David Devine and people like that, you know, it's colder because we're in a 40-year Maunder minimum within the 400-year Milankovitch cycle. So, you know, there could well be a mini ice age where people are skating on rivers and all that. But then that goes into a bigger cycle, and then there's the 12,000-year cycle. And I just wonder whether we developed a lot of technology. Then there was polar shifts or whatever happened. That technology was buried, and then we survived again. Because the problem is we don't keep knowledge. Now, one of the things I learned when I was working with the Chinese, because I was very lucky to work with, it's very academic driven. China's an amazing place. It's like a hive. It's like an ant's nest, a beehive. They all work for a common cause. And when you talk to a lot of the academics, they're very open. Unfortunately, they speak English, so we're quite lucky really, because we're quite ignorant in that respect, aren't we? But their knowledge goes back 5,000 years.
Yeah.
Ours doesn't. Somebody's destroyed that knowledge deliberately, and that's another reason why I don't like cloud capitalism, controlling the cloud and dictating what we can or can't say or can't think. You know, it's dangerous. We need to keep one foot outside the digital matrix, basically.
Yeah, knowledge doesn't equate to wisdom, does it, at the end of the day?
No.
And yes,
preaching to the converted there, Christ. I nearly swore then. Some of the examples I've shown over the car. As I said, you don't get progress unless you make mistakes. I mean, all the people that have ever worked for me, I never give them a job. I say, you're coming here with a purpose. You know, I'm giving you a purpose with a paycheck. You make mistakes, don't worry about it. The only clown that can really cock things up is me, because I will make massive mistakes. And I must admit, some of those mistakes that people have made have been costly, but you always learn from it.
Yeah.
And you rein it in to an extent. You know, you don't give somebody a budget that's going to cripple a company, do you?
No, Oxford. Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's been entertaining and very insightful.
Yeah.
Any last words?
No, not really.
Parting gifts?
Yeah, I've got a lobbyist I need to ring back now. He's jumping up and down. So that gives you an insight as to how it works. I believe in, my parting words are there should be no lobbyists. There should be none of these. These are transparent tenders when you've got preferred bidders. It should all be an open thing, because the more open someone is, the better. The only people that fear competition is corporations that want to do the same thing year in, year out. And just keep making money. And then they will always just want to get rid of people. They might take them on if they need to, but you give them a technology to get rid of people, they'll do it. And that's stupid, because consumption is an interesting thing. Wants can only be satisfied by sacrificing human effort or resources, and that means money. So wants only become demand when they're supported by the ability to pay.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to realize that.
You need waste. Nature has lots of waste, doesn't it? And that's the thing.
Yeah.
We think that we've got to be super efficient, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's always reused. It's like energy. Energy never dies. It morphs into someone else. I mean, that's the other thing.
Money's just an energy, and wealth's just an energy. And if it's just going up to 5%,
it's fuel. It's the fuel so that we don't all have to kill each other.
We're going to end up in entropy, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we are. Yeah. I think that they are going to look after themselves because they're in the lifeboats. But I think then they're going to quickly realise that, hang on a minute, there needs to be some level of capitalism and innovation, and you need to motivate people. Now, you can motivate people to an extent by fulfilling their basic needs.
Or you can piss them off.
But yes, right, yeah. And they're not, and the profit motive is an important thing. No getting away from it. We wouldn't have got out the caves, granted, fire and wheel. That was pretty important, yeah, if we didn't have a medium of exchange. And that medium of exchange had to be supported by a level of debt, which is credit, and credit is good. And that's why you need governments or organizations that are strong enough to turn around and say, no, we need a healthy economy here. So
which is inclusive. It's got to be inclusive.
Yeah, it's inclusive of everybody. That's another thing we found as well, that you get people that are physically disabled, yeah, and they can't get down to a raised bed. So we did an elevated raised bed, a bit like a snooker table. It's great. They feel so enabled. It's not true. It brings them out. It brings them out of themselves, out of the shell. They blossom. It's great. So I think it should be, the resources that we've got should be better planned, but not central planned, but there's competition, yeah? And people will find a way of improving that, always improving it and finding a market.
Absolutely. And I always say that the challenge that capitalism itself has is the fact that it always wants to make a business out of the problem. And if you make a business out of the problem, it perpetuates the problem. What it doesn't want to do is solve the problem, because then there's no profit and peace, for instance.
You're getting back to Rockefeller there.
Yeah.
Because I mean he started the farmer industry as well.
Yeah. But what we're getting wrong is the fact that people collaborate. We collaborated our way to the top of the tree. What should happen is ideas compete. People should collaborate.
Yeah. Oh, collaboration is what it's all about. I'm not trying to pitch Scotty back in here now, but what we've done is we've gone to people and said, you've got the touch points and the relationships and organizations. Let us get our product in it. And when they see it, they like it. So we give them a cut of the deal. That's what it should all be about. We collaborate with each other. And, you know, we work with loads of AI companies, and you turn around and they tell you what they're doing. And they ask me, they say, well, can you give me an honest appraisal? And I say, what, my famous honest appraisal? And I went, yeah. And I said, well, that's crap, that's crap, that's crap, that's brilliant. That's probably going to make you money, but that will change the world.
On that, we'll finish.
We need to get it out there. Yeah, and that's in Meditech, because the medical side of things, I know a guy he's the CEO of GE Healthcare. And they're so different to GE, the mindset, because GE is a monopolist, yeah. But if you look at what GE Healthcare are doing, they are genuinely doing some brilliant stuff. God knows why they're keeping the name GE, but there you go.
Cheers for that, Neil.
Right.
That's great, thank you. And I'll put a list of links where they can get hold of you.
All right, brilliant. Yeah, take care, be lucky.